It is the third, August 14th. Tonight is a Thursday, August 14th, 2025, Town of Monroe Planning Board Workshop Meeting. Noreen, would you please do roll call?
Bonnie Franson.
Here.
Jeff Manson.
Here.
Pat Shea.
Here.
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 And Lou is in for Dylan.
Dylan or Bob.
Yeah, we'll say Dylan.
Okay.
Fire exits, there are two behind the audience in front of us. There's the main entrance to the building, and then there's another one out this way toward the patio in the event of an emergency. With that, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, first item on the agenda is Pilati Village. If you'd like to come on up and let us know where we are in the process. Is that coming through, George?
How's that?
That was good.
I think that's better now.
Yes.
Hi there, folks. My name is Chris Durr. I'm with Rockaville Development. Mike Morgante is on vacation this week, so he wasn't able to be here. So you'll have to deal with me instead. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much. We're waiting for feedback from the town, and once we have that, then we'll be able to proceed with the Housing Finance Agency to try to secure financing.
At this time, I will turn it over to our consultants. Matt, you had comments?
Yeah, just some brief comments. Number one, in my letter, we had a little back and forth with Mike Morgante with the SWIP. The most recent version addresses our previous comments. We don't have any further comments on that. Number two, I would just request that the parking calcs for building 2 and 3 be verified based on the bedroom count. Could be fine. I just couldn't see that in the parking calculation on the plan set. And then the remaining comments are just some reminders that we'll need to review the deed restrictions, covenants and easements, emergency management or maintenance rights for the project. We'll need at some point guarantees for the public improvements, recreational facilities, etc. Number 6, there was an updated trip generation letter provided, which indicated that the change in the project does not impact or alter the outcomes of the previous traffic analysis for any levels of service. And then comment 7 is a list of outside agency approvals that'll still be required once they get to that point.
I did prepare an amended negative declaration for the board's consideration and EAF Part 2. The EAF Part 2 is the same as had been previously adopted. The amended neg deck really addresses the changes, which, since they're reducing the number required, it increases parking requirements a little and changes their impervious surface calculations a little, and the
All right, so board members, the EAF form is the same. I don't know that anyone recommends any changes at this point. No? And does anybody have any comments before I get to the amended negative declaration?
No, I don't.
My only comment is regarding the now non-age restricted units. It's my understanding that the intent is still to actually age restrict them, but due to financing requirements, that is something that can't be built into actual approval.
Sure. So we've not proposed or not proposing to modify the design or the unit composition at all of the units. I think that it's designed as a senior building, and I think that as an elevator service building, that's going to be most attractive to the seniors. However, the agency has indicated to us that we can only require the project what is required in the zoning. And so the impact, I think, is that the same number of seniors that were going to previously intended to reside there will still reside there. We just can't require that in our approval. So I think that what we'll see in the dynamic is if we have somebody younger that's not senior, perhaps there might be somebody that finds the setup of the building. They may have mobility impairments, or they may have some other impairments that are not senior, but would see a benefit to living in a senior design building, would live there. I think that the individuals that are not senior would find it more attractive to live in one of the other units that is not the multi-story elevator service building.
So what makes the multi-level elevator service building senior designed from your perspective?
Sure, it's going to be more of somebody that wants to be able to engage in the common areas, engage with residents without necessarily going outside. I think that people that are interested in a more walk-up situation are going to be more interested in getting directly into their units from the parking area and not necessarily engaging as much with with the other residents in the development.
Is the finance for this project, does it limit the tenants to, is it income restricted?
It is income restricted. It's a mixed income, so it ranges the continuum from 30% AMI to 80% AMI. And having the lower and the upper allow us to achieve both ends of that spectrum.
So are all of the units, the townhouses, the multifamily, and what was the senior building, all age restricted, or is it just the main building?
In coming up with the number of age-restricted
Sorry,
units.
I misspoke, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Income restricted.
Okay. So I'll answer the initial question. And so in coming up with the total number of age-restricted units, we used the total number of units in the project and then applied the percentage that as outlined in the code. So that's how we came up with the number of age-restricted units. For income restricted, it would be proposed to be 100% income restricted for the residents, so ranging from 30 to 80%. However, having said that, I'll share with the board that once a resident is admitted into the development under those income restrictions, they can't be forced to move out. So as their income rises, they may choose to stay there. And we have a number of developments that people's incomes significantly exceed the income limitations, but we can't kick them out because they've achieved greater financial success.
Are the regulations for this project, for the CCR? Yes. Oh, sorry, for the CCR, are the regulations there income restricted?
There is a percentage, so at least 20% of units.
Or to be income restricted? So if that's the case, why are we not following the zoning in that instance, but we are following it for the senior? So why is it only 20% as opposed to having it 100% affordable?
Sure. So I believe the zoning code outlines a minimum but no maximum. So we're complying with that minimum. We're going more than is required. Comparably, on the senior set aside, the agency will allow us to comply with the code, but will not allow us to have an imposition of something greater than what is required by the code. So if the code required that 100% of the development needed to be senior, then that would be a different analysis for the agency's perspective, for the financing agency's perspective.
So I think how the change that they're requesting is similar for both the income restricted and age restricted. It would say at least 15% or at least 20% have to be restricted. So that allows them to go beyond it, but it doesn't say, in the case of the senior, 100 units or whatever was previously specified. But it does, the change as proposed was consistently saying at least this amount, not setting it as a maximum amount.
So, before we get involved in looking at the neg deck, I'm supportive of the concept of the project. Where I'm struggling is this was a senior project, and now, regardless of, that there's nothing in here now that says it has to be. And so the combination of 30 to 80% affordable housing without age limitations is not necessarily the project that we reviewed and that we recommended. So, so that's where I'm having a quandary. It's not that I don't like the project. I was good with the original project. I don't know that I'm on board with these changes unless there was something separate and apart that was almost like a memorandum of intent or developer, I don't know what it can be, that would ensure that the mix that was discussed is the mix that the prior project is what occurs. Remind me, for the original project that we approved, was that all income restricted, or was it just certain units income restricted?
That was
can't recall.
36 units.
So last
Had to
time,
be.
36 units were restricted, now they're all restricted.
So now, that's what they're saying here, but so when the applicant had requested the changes originally, they had sent a red line version of the resolution. That red line for the income restricted says at least 36 units, or at least 20%. So it's not requiring 100%, that's what they're saying, though, they're looking to do.
Special use permit, or is this, are we changing have to change the zoning in any way, or their approval?
So they did previously adopt CCR zoning for this.
Right.
We do have a question of whether they need to amend that.
Okay.
So that'll have to be resolved before you could issue any approval.
Okay. I would like to have an attorney-client privilege session before we vote on the neg deck. There are just certain questions I'd like to ask with our attorney, if that's all right.
But if the room is being used, the conference room is being used.
Is anyone in the court?
Negative, you could go.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion?
No, we could just,
Okay, we're going to step out.
Sure thing.
We'll be back.
Okay.
So we're going to table this amended neg deck because the information you presented this evening about the income limits is news to us. And so we have to look at our neg deck through that lens. We don't know if the way this was amended reflects that. And I think also we would recommend that we do some kind of tech session to offline, do a workshop, a Zoom meeting with you and whomever to make sure we're understanding what the changes are, because I think that was a change we weren't aware of, so that we can take this up again at our next meeting. So that's where we are.
Sure, we're happy to do that. I think that the dialogue with the agency is not a static thing. It's something that's going to evolve. So the exact composition of the incomes is going to evolve as that conversation evolves. So we can provide to you kind of broad parameters.
Is there a specific program that you're seeking the funding through that we can look at then the parameters? Because I remember asking this a while ago, and I don't know that I got a full answer, but I know there are different programs under, certain agencies. And so it'd be useful to know what those are to understand what the limitations or restrictions, how they're advancing affordable housing and again, what the requirements are.
Sure. So the most likely funding approach will be through the New York Housing Finance Agency, or HFA. And HFA funds, a little technical, but funds 4% bond financing. And the bond financing is utilized for mixed income developments like we're proposing here.
Is that New York State?
The New York State Housing
HFA?
Finance Agency, yes.
And the 4%, so that's on the construction? Or what's the bond for?
The 4% bonds are utilized to access tax credits, affordable housing tax credits.
Okay.
The bonds are utilized for the construction,
Okay.
and then they are replaced with permanent financing once the construction is completed.
Okay. What are, again, since this is somewhat new to us, what are the terms in terms of the affordability? Is it supposed to remain affordable for certain specified time period?
So the bond is in place for 35 years.
Okay.
So they have to remain in place as affordable at least for 35 years.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it's a negotiated process with HFA. Oftentimes, there's an extended affordability period that extends beyond the 35-year period. But at least for the initial 35-year period, it would be challenging to refi the project within that 35-year period, because there's defeasance of the bonds that's associated with it. So it just gets very expensive to kind of prepay the bond and then refi the project. So it's likely to be that financing would likely be in place for 35 years, which would require that affordability.
How is the project managed? Is there some entity that has to be created to manage the whole project, or no? Or is it just,
Well, I think that
or do you hire someone to manage, and because I think the sisters are going to continue to own?
So the sisters will continue to own, and the sisters will manage as well, and they manage a portfolio of affordable properties.
Okay.
And so this will be one of the properties that they continue to manage long term.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of any other questions if I have. So the sisters manage it. Can the sisters sell it? I assume they can. If for whatever reason they needed assets to sell because they needed to do something.
So Sisters of Charity would not sell the property
Okay.
because they're they're the ones that have the bonds. And so they wouldn't be able to sell the property for that 35 year, at least until it's like a mortgage, until the mortgage is paid off. And if they sold it, there would be defeasance, there'd be penalties to paying off the bonds early, which would make it unfeasible for them to really prepay the mortgage.
But
they
they wouldn't
can't
be able,
transfer
though, to
that?
just transfer it to a new owner who would be subject to the same bonds, just take over, assume the debt, assume all of the
They would not.
obligations?
You wouldn't.
That's something that's written into the bonds that says they can't?
You'd never get the bondholders to agree to a substitution of the bonds.
But what if they suddenly stop paying? What happens? Like literally, the sisters just move out of the area, or something happens. You know, I'm not envisioning they were going
Yeah.
anyway. But what happens then to the buildings? If they can't be transferred, I think that's one
Sure.
way to go.
So if you look at the continuum of things that could happen, the bonds are going to be guaranteed. So the guarantors would have to step to the plate. And then failing that, the investors in the bonds would have to step to the plate to step in and manage the property. But it would be, you'd have to go through the guarantors, and then you'd have to go through the investors. So the investors are going to be like banks or pension funds.
Can they be individuals, wealthy individuals, or no? It's usually through banks, pension.
It would be unlikely that because they're guaranteeing a
Okay.
$50 million loan, it would be unlikely that it would be even high net worth individuals. It's more typical that they're institutions
Okay.
that would invest in it.
So I've never understood, and I know this is commonly a way to create affordable housing, I've never understood the tax credits aspect of this, which makes it, I think, appealing to invest. But you know what, I don't know that I'm going to burden this conversation now, but maybe that's something we could learn, I could learn a little bit about at a work session offline.
Sure, I'm happy to give a 30-second
Okay.
so. In order to encourage developers to develop affordable housing, Congress initiated the tax credit program, and the tax credit program is a certain value of tax credits is assigned to each state based on the population. The states then allocate those tax credits to projects. Those projects take those tax credits and sell them to investors. And investors will pay maybe, just to use as an example, maybe they'll pay 90 cents for a dollar's worth of tax credits. They take those, or $900,000 for $1 million worth of tax credits. They take the difference, the $100,000 difference, and it's something that's managed in the market. It may be 90 cents, it might be 85 cents, it might be 88 cents. The investors use that $100,000 to offset other gains in their businesses. So a bank may use $100,000 to offset $100,000, those tax credits of $100,000. They may use it to offset income that they've generated on their business side.
And they purchased this, is this a one-time deal, or for the 35 years they're getting a tax credit?
So they purchase it, and they give the money up front, which is an equity into the project, and that reduces the loan that the project has to get. They get those tax credits over a 15-year period. So even though they've given the money up front, they still get the losses, those tax credits, over a 15-year period, and then they agree that it's going to remain affordable for the 35-year period of the bonds. So
That's essentially how the bonds are being financed.
that's right, yeah.
They're given the money, and then they're getting the tax credits for having provided the money in the investment.
That's right, and then what the developer agrees, or Sisters of Charity, or whoever the applicant is, the borrower agrees that they're going to keep the rents affordable. So even if the rents in the market go up to, they double or whatever, the owner of the property, the borrower, the applicant, is agreeing that it will maintain the units as affordable units, long term. That's essentially how the tax credit program works, and what that allows is that allows the delivery of affordable units today, and then for them to be maintained that way long-term.
There's another advantage for particularly banks and financial institutions that are under the Community Reinvestment Act by participating in this, not only are they getting the tax credits, but they're getting the advantage of being able to show their federal regulators that they're investing in affordable housing. There's multiple tests that
They satisfy their CRA
right.
requirements as well. That's
So,
right. Yeah.
so it meets the investment test, and they're able to say, look at all of these investments we made in affordable housing. The fact that they're getting a tax credit for that doesn't mean that they're not supporting. So there's a business benefit and a regulatory benefit.
That's right. Exactly.
But I do have a question. So if I remember, part of the original concept behind this with the sisters getting involved in this project was there is a financial need for them, and that by doing it this way and by making it part of their portfolio and managing it, it's going to provide income to them to continue long term. So this,
So let me,
Right.
Let me be very specific. So the sisters own the property now. The sisters will, in effect, sell the property to the Sisters of Charity. Sisters of Charity develop housing, manage housing, own housing. Current sisters will take that cash and they will use it to support their senior community, the elder sisters, okay, in the mother house. Sisters of Charity will own and operate the development long term. That's what they do. That's what they've established to do. That's what they've been doing. So I just wanted to be clear, when we're talking about the sisters, we're talking about really two separate organizations. They're both sisters, but
right, but the sisters in the mother house, the gain from the sale of the property to Sisters of Charity, if I remember, I thought it was going to extend the lifespan of
of their order.
Thank you.
It's going
By
to
another-
allow the mother, it's going
by
to
another
provide
50
necessary
years.
resources for the mother house to continue to operate and to serve the retired sisters of the order. That's correct.
So the sisters, the Palatine sisters, they're related or they're not related? I assume they're related to the Sisters of Charity in some way, but
They are.
different?
They're a different order.
Okay,
They're both sisters,
okay.
but they are a different order. So the Sisters of Palatine are the sisters that live in the senior community in the mother house, and they're just aging, and they need resources to appropriately care for their order. And so they will use the proceeds from the transaction to support them aging in the mother house. Sisters of Charity have a development company that they own, manage, operate, and have partnered with the Sisters of Palatine in order to ensure that they can continue living in the mother house while they also ensure that the Sisters of Charity will be good stewards. It's very important to the Sisters of Palatine that they have good stewards of the property. So the Sisters of Charity will be the stewards of the property on behalf of the Palatine sisters.
So are the Sisters of Charity like the applicants for this then, or?
Palatine's.
Because the
I believe
Palatine's,
because the
they
Palatine
own-
sisters own the property, they're the applicants of the property, applicants for the transaction.
Okay, but they're selling it to the Sisters of Charity.
They will sell it to the Sisters of Charity.
So I just remember my question. Did you already get, do you already have commitments from the state that you're going to get tax credits, et cetera? The reason I'm asking is that it sounds like some of the tax credits, this is tied to federal tax credits, and given changes in budget, et cetera, I don't know if anything's changing from that perspective.
So everything is changing. But just to step back for a second, originally the agency, HFA, was prioritizing senior housing. That was 5 years ago when the project started. In the interim, things have changed, things have evolved. We were marching along getting this project approved. After it got approved, we go back to HFA. HFA says, okay, but really, we're not prioritizing senior-specific housing now. So if you want this project funded, you need to can comply with the zoning requirements, which have a minimum number of senior, but we're not going to approve something that is greater than what is otherwise required by the municipal zoning. Okay, so that kind of is what the evolution has led us to this, where we've proposed that we're not proposing to change the design. So the single building has been designed as senior. We're not proposing to change that. We're keeping them the vast majority of the units are one bedroom. There might just be a handful of twos because of some seniors that have to live in separate bedrooms because of health conditions. But so we're not proposing to change any of that. But we're trying to thread the needle between what the agency will fund and what our original design of the development was. With respect to your question about funding, on a federal level, a lot's changing, but one thing that is not changing is the acknowledgement nationally of a need for affordable housing, and that's reflected in continued support for the tax credit program. It's one of the more cost-effective ways to deliver affordable housing. And so there's been no pullback. In fact, there was an enhancement on the federal level for affordable housing finance through utilizing tax credits. There's some technical things that happen, but they've doubled down on supporting the tax credit program as a means to deliver affordable housing. So we don't envision that's going to happen. I think the other thing is that the state has absolutely prioritized, the state legislature has prioritized affordable housing. So the state legislature has made a lot of funding available for the development of affordable housing. It's what they refer to as a 5-year affordable housing commitment plan. And so they've allocated money from the general revenue fund for development of affordable housing. It's a little more technical, and I'm happy to go further into it. We don't know how long that will continue, but those resources are absolutely necessary in the capital stack to make these deals work. So the capital stack is a combination of debt, the bonds, the tax credits, and subordinate debt that's issued by the agency, which comes from the general revenue from the state legislature.
Thank you for that. Yeah, please.
So how are these securitized? Normally you have a general obligation bond, you have revenue from the project. How are these, who's the guarantor? Is it the agency, New York State agency?
It is not. It is.
Is there any rating on these bonds?
The bonds are sold from Housing Finance Agency. And what they do is they aggregate projects together. And they're sold 4 times a year, every quarter. So they may take 10 different projects from across the state. They'll put them together. They'll do one bond offering. Each of the projects are required to provide guarantees. And so they're guarantored in a couple of tiers. They're guarantored by the Sisters of Charity as the borrower. They also are guaranteed by the investors to the bond holders themselves. So they're kind of 2 tiers to those guarantees. I think that answers one question. You had another question, though.
Rating?
Oh, the rating. I don't know the answer to the rating question. I don't know. They're bundled by Housing Finance Agency, and then Housing Finance Agency brings them to the market and sells the bonds every quarter. I know that Freddie and Fannie have just last week made a renewed commitment that they were both going to increase their investment in tax credits by $1 billion each. So they are likely purchasers of those bonds. I think that historically the tax credit program has a very low, extremely low default rate relative to investments because affordable housing is so necessary. And because it's a common...
These aren't generally sold through a broker or anything. to the institutions?
No, they're sold on the market by the Housing Finance Agency.
Okay. That's why I've never heard of them.
They put the a dozen deals together, they bundle them, and they sell them off as one offering quarterly.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
How much does a bond like this typically pay out?
How much is it?
What's the return on something like this, on these bonds?
I have, well, let's see, I should know. Yeah, it's a test. You know, it's a market-driven thing, and it somewhat ties to what's happening to the 10-year Treasury. But I would say that they are lower. So, you know, if the 10-year Treasury, like right now, is like around 4%, it's kind of bumbling around, but around
4.23.
yeah, around that. I think I just locked a deal the other day at 4.195 or something like that. But so these bonds are going to offer a little bit lower than the 10-year Treasury, but it's part of it's part of the investors kind of protecting themselves in the market. Long term, 35-year term. So,
Thank you.
sure thing.
Bonnie, to answer your earlier question, the applicant is Parish Property Management Incorporated. So it's a corporation that's been authorized by the Sisters of Palatine to make the application.
Are these all rentals?
Yes. No, they're 100% rentals. They have to be rentals.
And given the 30 to 80% AMI, are the rents controlled for, I imagine the rents have to be controlled, right? Because those
The rents are
households have to be able
regulated.
to- They're regulated?
By the Housing Finance Agency.
Okay.
And at each income tier, the rents will be regulated or restricted so that if somebody is at a 50% area median income or AMI, or a 60% or a 70% or 80% or 30%, they cannot be required to pay more than 30% of their income towards housing,
Okay.
And that's a
30% of whatever tier they're in.
whatever tier they're in.
Okay.
And that's a grossed up number. So
Yeah.
you take out the utilities, you come up with a net rent, and that grossed housing cost cannot exceed 30% of that household's annual income, whatever tier they're at. I think you had a question?
I
Okay.
think I'm good.
One procedural item, if the board wanted to approve a motion to assume lead agency status, I can't recall if you did it in June or not. You circulated previously, but that way you'll be all able to go next month.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we declare ourselves, is it intent or we're going to
You
declare
previously
ourselves?
declared your intent, so this would be to assume lead agency status.
For the Monroe Planning Board to assume lead agency status for this application. May I have a second?
Second. It was Lou.
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're going to look through our document here. If you're available, we'll have an offline meeting to make sure we all understand the changes and if this is reflecting them, and then we can put you back on the agenda.
Absolutely. Happy to dialogue with you. These are real-time discussions, so my commitment from the start has been to be as transparent with you all as possible, understanding that it's a fluid dynamic that we're working with. So happy to converse further with you on it.
We do have Councilwoman Bingham here. Is there anything you want to ask since you're here? I didn't know if you were coming in particular for this, any? We're talking about Pilati Village. Please come up because George will ask you to.
I just had a question. the schools, because if it was going to be seniors, I know there was going to be minimal effect. Maybe they had to babysit a grandchild. If it's going to be workforce housing, it's possible they may have children, and it might impact the schools. I was just wondering if that was part of the discussion I had missed. Thank you.
I believe that was part of the fiscal
It
analysis.
did submit a revised fiscal analysis, so the board's going to be reviewing that in considering an amended negative declaration. They haven't done that yet. They're going to be reviewing that likely in September, but there is a revised fiscal analysis that talks about the change.
Okay, that was my only concern. Thank you.
And there are no property taxes because this is a not-for-profit owning the land and a not-for-profit owning the housing, or do they generate taxes?
No, there are property taxes.
Okay.
I believe we have an agreement, at least an agreement in concept with, I think we have an agreement with the town board as to what those property taxes are going to be. Let me just comment on the question about the students, because I think that there are two things that are of note. The first is because it is regulated, because this is a development that is proposed to be regulated by the Housing Finance Agency. Housing Finance Agency dictates how many individuals can live in a unit based on the number of bedrooms. So if it were an unregulated development, just Chris Durr says he wants to build a building, and I put a number of 1 and 2 bedroom units in, I could put as many people as I wanted to into that 1 bedroom unit or 2 or 3, whatever. Being that it's regulated, HFA says that a 1 bedroom can only be occupied by 1 or 2 adults. It cannot be occupied by any children. A 2 bedroom could be occupied by children, an adult and a child, but there are a very limited, I just don't remember, we have a very limited number of 2 bedroom units in the 100 unit building. So that will be a regulatory restriction on the number of households that could have children in that building. In contrast, because we've included the entire master plan in the calculation for seniors, we may have some seniors that may not want to live in a more congregate care environment, meaning an environment with an elevator and an internal corridor. So they may live in one of the walk-up units across the street. And so in those units, they wouldn't obviously not have children.
Was this being where you were building one of the buildings, the big building first, and then the others would happen later? I'm trying to remember.
Originally, it's a really good question, and I go in my comment of it's fluid. It's fluid. Our desire is, we've been at this a long time. Our desire is to get it all funded by HFA in one tranche. To build it, it will take time it'll take 2 years to build the whole thing. And as we completed units, we would turn them over. But the strong desire is that we get it funded as one deal. And we build it as we're able to build it. I would say that the other benefit is that these are deals that are funded across the state. And so we believe, and we've seen elsewhere, that the larger size will help us, will help the agency be more receptive to doing the deal faster, because it will be a larger number of units that will be able to respond to the need for affordable housing in the Hudson Valley. As opposed to if we just did a 100-unit and 80-unit deal. They'll be like, yeah, that's nice, but it's not going to have as big an impact as something that's going to deliver 180 units at once, 176, whatever, you know.
One thing about the phasing, that should be any changes. I think it was previously 2 phases differently, so that's something you want to look at in the amended neg deck.
Yeah,
I think the
we have
reality
to pick
is
up all these nuances of
I think
changes.
the reality is we're not going to be able to build and deliver the whole thing at once. So I think that it's likely that our delivery is going to be in phases. We're going to, it's going to be easier for us to build townhomes and walk-ups and deliver those in 12 months. The single building is going to take 18 to 22 months to deliver. So the delivery of those units is going to occur in phases. But our intention is to get it funded as one, as one development.
I think we'd be interested in knowing, are they, from an impact perspective, would they likely be constructed at the same time, just the one may take longer? Or is it you're likely to, like you say, build the walk-up and the townhouses first, finish that, and then start construction?
Yeah, so I think that what we've done elsewhere, and I think we would do the same thing here, is that we're going to start in one place and then we're going to move our way over. So when the foundations are done, when the people that are doing the foundations are done with one building, they're going to move to a next, and then the underground sewer people are going to come in and do the underground infrastructure, and then the concrete people are going to come in and they're going to pour the floor, and then people are going to put the walls up, and then they're going to move progressively through. We would not start one, finish it 100%, and then move to the other. We would start and we would progress it and then move the different trades through the buildings as the construction cycle continued. That would enable us to, people would become, the subcontractors would stay on the project for the duration, but they would move from one piece, from one phase to the next sequentially.
Okay.
So it's kind of more a rolling start rather than a phased approach.
That's right, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good
we'll
evening.
set something up.
Yeah,
in
we'll look
intro.
forward to whenever you guys want. I'm available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is Golden Delight. And I believe we just have to extend an approval.
Yes, so you issued approval on February 18th. It expires August 17th. So it would be a motion to extend the conditional site plan approval for 180 days through February 13th, 2026. And they're, I believe, waiting on, Orange County Sewer District permit. I think that might be the main thing that's causing the holdup.
But I remember something in the request letter that they
Amending
were
a condition,
that
so that the letter
yeah.
did mention they were going to be requesting to amend a decision, but we had informed the applicant, since they're not here this evening to discuss that, they'd have to come back in September to explain what they're looking for.
Okay, so that's not under consideration for
No.
tonight. Okay. Good.
So the date was February
13th, 2026.
All right. I will make a motion that we extend the conditional approval for Golden Delight Bakery 6 months to February 13th, 2026. I can't even read my own writing. February 13th, 2026. May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen?
Connie Francis.
Aye.
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 With that, the motion carries, so they have their extension. Next item on the agenda is Aaron Zimmerman, 37 Dry Hill Road. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Dan Richmond. I'm with the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz, and as you also heard this evening, Mike Morgante is on vacation, so I'm acting engineer this evening.
This is going to be interesting. We're going to see what you build.
Top of the mic is a button. Nope, the mic itself. It's like a slide.
It's on.
Hey, I thought he turned it off because he reached to the button. Oh, boy.
All right. As you recall, when we were before your board earlier this year, you referred us to the zoning board. We've had some productive meetings with them. And to further advance the application, we need a negative declaration from your board. The zoning board has adjourned its hearing to hopefully allow your board time for that. I'm happy to answer any questions I can. Again, this is a single-family home. I've talked to your attorney. I believe this is technically a type 2 action, although I understand her position that this is not an approved lot technically because it was not approved for residential purposes previously. But I would just point to the seeker handbook, the DEC's guidebook to seeker that basically says, that says the typical impacts associated with construction of single, 2-family, 3-family residences are limited to noise, dust, runoff, clearing, and grading, and that these impacts are minor in nature and easily controlled by standard construction techniques. And, further goes on that, they seldom create a significant adverse impact, and proper land use planning, zoning, and subdivision regulations, to the point of our discussions with your board, do protect readily identifiable unique features from the impacts of inappropriate development. We understand your board has assumed or has circulated intent. I hope you're in a position to declare intent, and hopefully we can address any concerns you have and see if we can proceed.
So I want to touch upon wetlands because we do have this pond present on the site, and since January 1st, 2025, we now have the new regulations from DEC where we're in a census urban area, and I believe that this is then regulated. My understanding, Matt, were you out there when they were out there?
No, I stopped out separately with Mike Morganti before he went on vacation to take a quick look at the site. We primarily walked the road to look at questions that had arisen about the condition of the road and I guess some of the previous ZBA conditions. But my understanding from that discussion with Mike is that he has submitted the request to DEC for that determination, and he anticipates that DEC will assume jurisdiction of that.
So since we now have the reality of this being a DEC wetland, Mike Fratz is going to go out there, probably to then have to sign off. He's DEC Region 3. He's a wetland scientist.
What's his name?
Mike Fratz, F-R-A-A-T-Z. He tends to do all the wetland delineations in our area, where he reviews the delineation. And the reason I'm asking is, and then we have our own local wetlands. Do we send out Dave or Eric or someone to look at this or not? Our own wetland consultant. And I'm questioning because we know DEC is going to be out there. So,
I guess all I would say is their jurisdiction, the fact that they're assuming jurisdiction doesn't create a new impact. It's, the project's what the project is. If it, I don't believe the project's, posing any impact to the pond.
but they're not on the pond. They are within, I think, the 100-foot regulated area. I thought I saw that.
We are
So
applying
there
for a
is,
wetland.
this recent submission did include a wetlands permit application letter, so there is some disturbance in the 100-foot buffer.
Right. I think this one shows it pretty well. I think this is it.
It's several hundred feet, I think, for the sewer lateral and possibly some of the grading for the driveway. Let's see.
I think it was like 800 square feet.
This is a really big home. Is this 3 stories, like a basement and 2 levels?
I'm going to honestly say I don't know.
Okay. It shows, if you look at, you probably can't look at it, or it's not too close, but it's 4,000 square foot footprint. I just don't remember if it was 2 stories going all the way down, or if it was essentially like a basement and then 2 levels. Do we know?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't think we got anything in terms of elevations.
Circle back from what the
Sure.
just the wetland disturbance area is a little over 800 square feet, and about 73 cubic yards of fill
Okay.
for the house foundation.
Yep.
Now let's see if we can tell how tall it is.
So, yeah, that's what Mr. Morgante indicates in his wetland letter about the disturbances. And we have a private road maintenance agreement. So you're still in front of the ZBA, correct, because of the 280A variance?
Well, and then we have the conditions, remember, they issued a resolution on this project in the early 2000s
Okay.
that impose certain conditions that we don't believe are feasible any longer, are really wanted by the community, including widening the road, et cetera. I don't know, Mr. Sickler, if you were, when you were out with this, Mr. Morgante, if you also met the guy that says he owns the road now.
I did not have the pleasure to meet the gentleman who owns the road, but we did walk it. One of the conditions from the previous approval in the early 2000s was that the road be widened to 22 and a half feet.
Right.
It's about 17 feet approximately now. Another condition was that storm drains that exist along the road would be lowered below grade, and then presumably piped. Currently, there are a few culverts along the road, not many. I didn't see any inlets. The upper side of the road currently just has a ditch line that collects runoff from half the road in the uphill side. That's conveyed down the road and eventually out to the intersection where there is an inlet that could be raised slightly to make grade. And then on the downhill side of the road, which is the side that this house is proposed on, there really are no stormwater features. It just sheet flows off the road onto the properties there. So widening the road 5 feet or so does present some challenges. If you widened it on the uphill side, that would fill the ditch line that's there. You'd need to install a series of catch basins and then daylight them somewhere. If you tried to widen on the downhill side of the road, you're extending out into the lawns of those houses. Those driveways also slope down, so if you project your road slope out, you're going to need to steepen driveways, in other words, and follow them back onto their properties.
And this is something the applicants do?
No, this was a condition that was
The original?
of the original approval from 2000, 2001, and that was part of this variance.
It was in the 280A variance that was originally granted in the early 2000s, and I guess for whatever reason it wasn't done, or it wasn't realized that it wasn't done, so now they're seeking to change that.
Change it so that it's,
Or to modify those requirements.
so that it's
I mean, we,
kind of substandard at this point.
well, we, yeah.
I'm just using that word, I don't mean
No, no,
that
no.
it's, so in other words, let's say let's say private roads required 24 feet, and they did it to 20. And so they want variances, I guess, to be able to go to 20 feet, to whatever the existing condition is.
So I don't know exactly, is that what you're looking for, just to keep it existing, or?
I think I think we have no choice but to keep it existing. I think for some of the reasons Mr. Sickler pointed out, including that it would require cooperation of various parties that have indicated they have no intention of cooperating, and I don't believe that the road should be widened. I think it's worked. You may recall that Mr. Morgante met with the fire chief earlier this year, and he didn't, see any issues with the road from a fire safety perspective. So again, in 2000, when the ZBA voted on the overall subdivision, they required that the applicant widen the entire length of the road to 22 feet, lower the storm drains, and resurface this. And these actions were never taken, and at this point, we're before the zoning board explaining why we think, we think it's infeasible at this point.
So these were conditions, and they're noted in your memo, that were part of a 2001 ZBA determination. Did these lots already exist, and so then they were building more lots and they wanted these improvements to be made?
No, I believe it was at the time of the subdivision. So when they were going for the subdivision, they went for this 280A variance, and that's when these conditions were imposed, but they were never adhered to.
Okay, so it was for all the lots, they were all being newly constructed.
It was only, but just to be clear, it was a 3-lot subdivision at the time. It wasn't for the entire
Yeah,
subdivision of the road.
that's what I'm trying to figure out, because
That's what I
Dry
thought your
Hill
question is.
Road,
Beyond that, you're saying?
it's more, it's
Yeah,
like,
it was for two,
I now have near map.
Last person in, I think that's what the thinking was probably at the time.
I mean, the one comment or bullet item here about improving the road with 6 inches of compacted item 4, it's currently paved. So I'm not sure if they did that before they paved it. I don't think you would want to do that now over the pavement. So that one I'm not quite sure what to tell you to do with, but
Well, again,
it's in pretty good condition. It's just, 17 to 18 feet wide.
I believe this is it. You could see, this is
Yes.
Dry Hill, Dry Hill Road. So there are a ton of houses off of this road.
yes.
And so is it that the last 3?
So if your pointer is right where that is, this subdivision that we're talking about from the early 2000s divided basically that and that. No, that
For these
and to
two?
the left, yes,
So it was
and created a
this,
3rd lot.
so it was this, and then this was the 3rd lot, but it was non-buildable on the
I don't
map.
think it was deemed not, I think it was, technically the term was not for residential purposes. Your board's January 2001 approval says that it was designated as not for residential purposes in the absence of a sewer permit from the sewer district and without your board's approval.
Harry, were you around for this or no? Okay. All right, so these improvements then were related to that 3-lot subdivision? Okay. Cul-de-sac, and he wants to construct back in here.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And all-
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, I said all we're asking this evening is this is the beginning, in a sense, of the planning process, but we need to get back before the zoning board and see if we can get them, to issue the requested variances, and then we would come back before your board for all the normal planning, issues.
So why don't we go through Matt's comments? We're sort of touching upon them, but let's
Sure.
go through all your comments. We'll go through Ashley's comments. I have the question about the wetlands, and whether we need a consultant to go out there or not. And then we can move forward with
Okay.
everybody's comments and anything else you want to note.
Sure. Comment 2, one of the conditions of the previous subdivision, I believe, was that documentation be in place for maintenance of the existing dam and spillway for that pond. I believe they've submitted one. We've
Yes.
reviewed that with Ashley.
I was reviewing that with Matt. Dan had sent over a draft of the dam maintenance declaration, so I'll get Dan back our revisions to that.
Now, this is the wetland that has the issues where when there's a big storm, it pours water out onto Route 17. I think they made improvements. I believe they did, but I'm not entirely sure if they were completed. So the water is so significant coming out of this that it's blown out. You'll see like the stream rock crossing over Route 17. And I don't know whether or not DOT fixed the problem or if it was even related So for instance, DOT widening a culvert or doing something to get the flow through. So we've talked about this because there are a couple of properties that are along 17 that are adjacent to your lot that experience this too. So I just want to raise that as a seeker question in terms of reaching out to DOT to find out if this issue has been addressed or not.
But this project's not impacting that. I mean, again, when I saw the requirement of a dam, I sort of questioned it because we're not impacting the dam. We're not proposing anything related to
Yeah, but if
that.
you're adding, you're disturbing the property, you're adding more impervious surface, you're potentially adding more water to the pond.
We're going to have a stormwater, I mean, again, part of the approval process will us having a plan showing that we're going to handle drainage in a manner that's, environmentally friendly and doesn't create additional impacts.
So I'm
Yeah,
not
but for
sure.
purposes of secret, the board has to look at the potential impacts to the pond, and
I'm not sure that drainage is there because normally this is under a certain threshold, so you wouldn't require SWIP, you wouldn't necessarily, but I don't know if in the plans they are showing drainage improvements or not.
Right now, I don't think there's any drainage improvements in the plan. All that's shown is a grading plan. The area disturbance associated with this isn't that large. This dam does show up on the DEC info site as an intermediate hazard dam with an embankment height of 24 feet. So we can follow up and reach out to DOT, and I can get with Mike and see what drainage issues, if any, are associated with that structure.
Because the problem I don't know if the problem is related to the dam height. So if at some point it's a problem, I don't know who would be responsible, but let's say they want to fix the problem. Is the problem the dam height? Would they be able to come in and make a change? They probably wouldn't want to have that responsibility. But somehow this issue has to be addressed if it hasn't already. But again, some serious storms, it's happened multiple times, and I'm sure others can attest to this.
Well, as you said, we've been talking about this in relation to other applications that are downstream. Literally.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we previously touched on the conditions of the ZBA variance, the status of those. Comment 4, they've indicated they'll submit to Orange County Sewer District. There is an existing manhole in the cul-de-sac right in front of the property for the connection. If they do any improvements within Dry Hill Lake Road, those will require easements.
I don't know if they'll require easements. We'll require some kind of agreement with the guy that owns the road.
Right, easements or agreements with him to perform those.
Who owns the road?
The lot at the end, I believe.
And is it just the piece that was involved in the 3 lots?
No, he owns
He owns the
apparently
whole
that
length?
road, I guess, was, I don't know.
My understanding is the road is a parcel, and the house at the end of the cul-de-sac, all the way at the end of the cul-de-sac,
Bought it at auction. is what I understand.
bought it.
Foreclosure.
There was a name on there's a road maintenance agreement that was submitted this month. There was a name on there for that.
C, so that's.
Who is it?
C.
Oh,
It's in my other notebook.
The ZBA, right?
Yeah, so it's not in this notebook.
okay, so this is the Dry Hill Road parcel,
Yeah.
and who owns this? You said, so this is DLR LLC at 40 Dry Hill Lake Road. Unless that's given as address of the owner.
What's his last name? If you,
There's no last name, it's an LLC.
yeah, so maybe create an LLC.
Was it Baruch Wiener?
No,
Oh, that's
C.
who's sold.
Oh,
Bonnie,
yep.
so go to 40 Dry Hill Lake Road and see who the owner is there.
Yeah, I was gonna do that. This looks like, I think these are the,
Is that 40?
that's 322, so there isn't a 4,
I think if you go
That's
to the
Orchard.
end of the road,
unless we go this way.
you go to the end of Dry Hill Lake Road, I mean, I think I can show you where I understood his road.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Keep
weird.
going.
Down at the cul-de-sac, Bonnie.
I think you gotta keep going.
Yeah.
to
This
the right.
guy. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. John C.
That's it.
Okay, got it. So he owns the road, he owns this house, and, okay, got it. I was up on this block, that's why I wasn't seeing it. I was on Orchard, sorry about that. All right, let's get back to
Okay.
Matt.
Comment 6, the applicant is going to petition the town board for inclusion in Town Water District 8. Bulk table indicates the height of the accessory structure. I believe they just need to flip the greater than, less than symbol there now to confirm that it will be less than 15 feet. And that, I believe that's for the pool house.
Confirm the height of the main,
Correct.
is this a three-story building, is this a basement, or
Yep.
some information?
Okay. Then Mike Morganti indicated that he's had a preliminary meeting with the fire department. He explained that they weren't concerned necessarily with the condition or width of the road. There was some concern with some low wires, which I believe were probably cable television, and they would like those raised if possible.
We have no, if this, we're on number 9, we have, I mean, objection to referring the application to, if you think it's joint fire and highway at this time, because we're not proposing any improvements to Dry Hill Lake Road.
Okay.
So could you repeat that? They're low liar?
Some of the wires crossing the road, I believe, the height
Okay,
of those, Mike told me that the chief expressed some concern with that
okay,
in responding up there. So I think Mike had said he didn't have a problem reaching out to the utility to see if that could be accommodated.
okay, so it would be, it's not that the applicant is doing it, he's going to reach out to the utility provider to see if they would.
And requested it be done, yeah,
Okay,
and explain the concern.
okay.
In Mike's response memo, the chief also mentioned he would like to, there's 2 potholes that he'd like to see filled. So again, I don't know whose responsibility that would be, but that's not,
We would assume it's, I'm sure, responsibility for the 2 potholes.
So there's not is there an overall agreement, I can't remember with this, for maintenance of Dry Hill? Like, who's maintaining it? Is it Mr. C?
There is an agreement that they submitted. It submitted an existing agreement, I believe, with the most recent submission.
From,
Private road maintenance agreement?
yep, from 1992.
Okay. Got it up on the screen. They resided on 49 Orchard. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, there's not much here. The owners shall be responsible for the maintenance, but what owners? See scheduled attached.
I guess I came away from the ZBA meeting where Mr. C spoke with the understanding that there was sort of an informal, that he basically let it up and everyone sort of paid him back. I don't know if that's documented. I don't want to put words in his mouth. That's my general recollection.
Did other homeowners appear, or was it just him?
No, there were a couple other people from Dry Hill Lake Road.
Okay. And did they say anything when he said, when he made his statement about the maintenance? He
No,
didn't
I don't
mention
think,
anything?
no, I don't recall anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of, it seems unclear to me, but, yeah, okay.
This submission did include a tree plan in accordance with town code. If you want, we can refer that to Karen for review.
Yes, please, and I think that, did Dennis want to go out there and look at this one as well? I believe he did. He's our Monroe Conservation Commission and looks at the trees, so, yeah.
Okay. And,
Who should he coordinate with? I guess Noreen could let him know who to contact about a site visit.
Yeah, I guess
Karen might want to get out there as well,
Karen will get out there, and then
if
we'll
you
talk.
want wetlands.
Yeah, we'll talk about whether someone else will get out there. Okay.
And comment 12, again, mentions the wetlands. They've included an application for disturbance to the wetland buffer, and that Mike has indicated they've submitted the request to DEC for a JD. Not sure if you want that forwarded to one of your wetlands consultants at this point, or wait until you have the JD from DEC.
I would, if you're going to refer it, I would ask you to refer to a consultant. I don't know if you're having good luck in this area, but I mean, other parts of the state I work in,
Oh, for the JD.
yeah, they're not forthcoming. I actually was working with Jim Bates on another project where he told me basically he couldn't get, I mean, it was a larger project than this, but he said that basically they wouldn't meet with him about a project until there was a negative declaration, that it just, you know, I guess because of staffing.
So my experience in some of my communities, that the fastest way to get someone to do a delineation is to go directly to Region 3 and say you want them to review the delineation, acknowledging that you already agree that it's going to be a DEC wetland. And it's kind of easy to do when you're in a census urban area, because all the wetlands in census urban areas are going to be DEC regulated. They also have a general permit for disturbances within the new wetlands that they created this year. And I don't know if it meets it, but you'll likely need it. I'm going to guess you might need that general permit. But I know some of the consultants that are representing applicants in the communities that I represent. That's why I said Mike Fratz. They kind of go directly to Region 3 and say, we know I have a wetland, I'm in a census urban area, I'd have a, you know, wetland boundary determination or delineation, can you come on out? And that shortcuts the process for what it's worth. That's my understanding.
I mean, I'll pass that along.
Yeah. So.
And then my final comment is Section 5742C has some screening requirements for the swimming pool. Just the final plan should reflect compliance with those. They're pretty basic. Yep.
Perfect, thank you. Ashley?
Just a couple other, the plan will have to add the house relocation notes indicating the size of the dwelling and those standard notes, as well as your standard stormwater notes. As far as rec fees, the 2001 subdivision required payment of parkland fees for 2 of the residential lots. It excluded this one likely because it wasn't determined to be buildable for residential purposes at the time. So your resolution this time should address rec fees for the additional lot. And I guess the board for this over to wetlands consultant. That way, you responses back and could look at completing seeker.
So our wetlands person is also our ecologist, so, you know, I would recommend, given the number of trees, given the wetland, et cetera, I think it'd be beneficial to have one of our ecologists go out there and check it out. I have no idea about the quality of this pond. I don't know that I have no idea, because I think it's receiving a lot of upland runoff, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's not that pristine, but I have no idea. So is everybody okay us referring it to our wetland/ecologist? Yes, yes? Okay. So we have 3, and we'll just figure out who can come out. do we have to pick someone specific, or can we say we're going to have one and then figure
You
out
could reach
who's
out and
available?
see who's available, maybe.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that takes care of. If we could just make sure that, I don't, maybe it's on another map. Where are the setbacks? Is that pool setback, whatever it has to be set back from a yard perspective?
Yeah, from the rear yard, I believe the required setback was 15 feet.
Okay, because there's this little, over in here, so, which is the rear yard? This is the rear yard,
That's what they're designating as the rear yard,
and
yeah.
I think this is rear yard, so this is 28.7, this is showing us 10 over here by the pool house. So, if we could just look and since you're in front of the ZBA, just make sure there aren't any other variances. And then when the coverage is calculated, I believe it's supposed to be calculated on the net. Was that done? And it shouldn't be a problem, but you do have a fair amount of steep slopes and wetlands. I think Mike did include a map here that had that. So he has a slope table, and he knows what the wetlands are. We should just make sure that the coverage, et cetera, is calculated, I think, on the net, if we could look into that. And another question is, practically speaking, how is this going to be constructed without going into the wetland buffer? It's a question, because it's like it's slope, and to get equipment in there, can they stay within the area that they're showing?
Okay. I'll discuss with Mike and ask him to provide a narrative and kind of plan as to how that would be accomplished.
The dam itself, did you look at the dam? Do you have someone who can look at the dam?
I did not
Okay.
myself look at the dam. We do have people on staff that could.
Just to check out the condition.
Okay.
I think that'd be prudent, since
Sure.
this law includes it. My comments at this point. If you have questions?
No, I have no questions at this point.
Pat?
No questions.
This project has been around since what, 2000?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, well.
So we're talking about 25
house-
years.
No, but this house has been, it's only, I think, since earlier this year.
Yeah, I think we just got
This-
it.
The lot was created, 25
Yeah.
years or so ago.
It looks like
Finally
this,
got around to trying to develop it.
yeah, I'm looking at the revision dates, the 6/21/24, and then I think they went away, so it's been like a year since I think they came here, maybe? On and off.
Last year in April, but before that, it was July of '24.
Yeah, so it's been a big gap in between. And you're going to reach out to DOT and find out what's going on with this stream?
Yep, we'll try to follow up with drainage conditions.
Okay. And then I think we're going to look at, in general, runoff from this to the extent that we don't want it to really add to or exacerbate a condition. And it may not, just to look into the drainage area.
I'm just looking back at my notes too from July, and Bonnie, you had asked about terrain adaptive housing and how the size of the house compares to others nearby. I think you asked for a visual rendering and whether it would be visible from 17M. I don't believe that's been submitted.
As either. And I don't necessarily need all the architecture, just more like massing. And because this is essentially going all the way toward the Finney lot, what's going to be visible? And is there there has to be some screening, I think, around the pool.
Correct. And you're talking about visibility from the house next door?
Just visibility from the house next door, visibility from 17, just in general, you know, is this opening up
Okay.
view sheds?
Yeah, it'll definitely be visible from the house next door.
Yeah.
There's mostly lawn from that house up to the property line. So I believe they were going to incorporate some additional screening in that side yard, but I'll mention that to Karen when she does her review as well.
Perfect.
Also, to touch on seeker and why this isn't a type 2 action, so that type 2 for construction of a single-family home is construction of a single-family home on an approved lot. So although this lot was part of a subdivision, it very specifically wasn't approved for a home, so that's why you're looking at it as an unlisted action.
But it was approved, and that's the straight language of the.
Approved, but approved to be vacant. So here, it wasn't approved for a single-family or any type of development, so that the impacts from developing it were not previously to that. We could agree to disagree, but that's just explaining it to the board.
Well, and again, to my
Thank
point,
you.
I understand your position, but again, at the end of the day, it's a single-family home, which DEC recognizes these don't pose impacts that warrant, you know, an EIS. So I hope
I don't
we
think
can
that
get.
anyone's suggesting that it would warrant an EIS,
Right.
but they are looking at it as an unlisted action.
Right, so I hope we can get a negative declaration so we can proceed with the review process.
Not tonight. So normally we have the EAF Part 2 done, and we also write up a negative declaration, and until we hear back, especially from DEC, that they would be willing to permit this, we don't want a permit. We just want to know something from when Mike Fratz goes out there that he would say, yep, you know, this isn't a problem.
I think it's going to take we're not going to get a neg deck till DC weighs in? Is that what you're,
Or your consultant get there.
Or my consultant, if they say this is not an issue, then
it's one thing, I think, for you to have your own consultant out there, but I'm just concerned about having this project hang on DEC, which I know is short-staffed, and I doubt this project's like a high priority for them.
So I haven't had the experiences. The experience I've had are when you go for your JD, and then you go to have to do your delineation, and then Mike Fratz has to come out. This is a DEC wetland, so I don't think it takes long if you're going directly to Region 3. And that's what I would suggest. Is this Mike Nowicki who did this, or who did the...
I don't know.
I think it was Jim Bates.
Was it Jim? So the other thing is we normally require not just showing the delineation, but we like a wetland report, just that has the forms and some narrative. I don't know if Jim provided that already. I don't think so. Where are we on seeker at this point? Did we circulate?
Yes, you circulated, you assumed lead agency in April.
When we circulated, did we circulate to DEC?
Believe so.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
That should cover it. You haven't gotten any comments from DEC. I would submit.
But they don't normally, so we've received...
No, actually, you did not.
I did not? We did not?
Because it was circulated last July.
Ah, yes. That's why we don't have comments from DEC.
Different set of rules.
Yes.
If you want, I could send a supplemental lead agency notice to the DEC.
That'd be great. But I will say that we had received an email from someone at DEC that, remember they used to create the forms and they say all the various regulations that may apply when they do the review. Sometimes they're doing it, sometimes they're not. And so you can't rely on getting a letter from DEC as an indication of comments from them. It's better to reach out to them. For a big project, they're definitely doing it, but there's stuff that they just leave off the...
This is a single-family home, that's what I'm saying.
No, I understand. But we're going to have our wetland scientists go out there. If you could ask Jim to get us wetland report and anything he noticed from an ecological perspective while he was out there. And then we'll have our person take a look at it, and if they say, not a big deal, we can address the neg deck.
Okay. So I guess we got to...
We're a little fluid here. We'll see what happens first. But again, I'm really recommending you reach out to Mike Fratz.
I hear you. I'll see what, if it's Jim Bates, again, I've worked with Jim Bates on other wetlands issues. And,
Yep, I have too.
no, I'm just saying, recently, I guess where I was going with that, I know on this other project I'm working with him earlier this week, and the message I got from him is like, until you have a neg deck, DEC doesn't really want to hear about it. But maybe, I know they have their delineation
Yeah.
obligations now, but.
I could tell you there was a 2-lot subdivision in Montgomery recently. It ended up in a census urban area, and we said, just reach out to DEC. Mike Fratz came out and delineated it, and he indicated to them, this is a single-family home, we have general permits for this, and he said, it's permittable, and that was really all we needed to move forward.
Okay.
So,
But if you want to have, again, your own municipal wetland consultant, reach out to Mark Morganti when he's back and you can coordinate.
Once you pick who you want to refer this to the wetlands, if you let me know, I can try to coordinate and go out at the same time to look at the dam
okay,
with Mike.
that'd be great.
We can all be there at once.
Okay.
That's fine.
And CC maybe could go at that time
Yeah.
too.
Sure.
Well, and then I don't know if any members have been out to the site. I've driven, I actually came in through the bottom property where the chiropractor is, and to take a quick look at the lake. I didn't go up because obviously it's private. So I was able to get to it from that side, but I haven't gone to it and I drove on Dry Hill, but I haven't walked on the site. So perhaps we can coordinate everybody if people want to go out and check it out. So, all right, so Noreen, you'll be doing some coordinating. Thank you. Mary, anything you want to raise? Oh, here we go. Mary is our councilwoman.
Just wanted to be sure with the dam. We did have the Lake Sapphire, that dam had problems, and the residents had to form a district to improve it. So I just want to make sure that the ownership and maintenance and possible upkeep of the pond as well, that's addressed. Okay.
And as we said, and you probably know also, when it rains around here, we've seen some big flows coming off and across 17.
Yes.
So for whatever, well, I don't know why. And so I think we just want to see if we just want to make sure DOT, they may have addressed the problem. It may not be happening anymore. I just don't know if that's happened, and Matt will check that out.
Yeah, and we also know there are more rain events now than there used to be years ago, and, as trees get cut down, you're increasing the runoff. So those are my only comments. Thank
No, I
you.
appreciate it. And I think with
Thank
any
you.
private application, you're always got to be careful about, only requiring the applicant to deal with conditions that relate to its project and not the pre-existing conditions. I mean, if there is a wider issue, that may be something the municipality wants to work in.
Well, so I would say this is in front of us, and if it turns out the dam's about to fail, we would want to take care of that now. And I'm not saying that's happening, but that's part of seeker.
I don't think that is. I mean, again, if you're looking at secret, you're looking at a project's impacts. And again, we're just talking abstract. If the dam were about to fail, the project hasn't been built yet. The project obviously didn't cause the dam to be about to fail. If you're,
I don't think the board would be able to approve a project on the property if the dam's failed.
well, it's a different issue. But
I mean, you would need
I
the
don't
dam
know.
to be working in order to have this project, so they're,
I don't know. No, I think if the dam went, then the pond would go, and it would be a lot of dry land we could develop. But
I don't think that's it. I don't even know that there's a dam issue.
I don't know if there's a dam issue
I just
either.
think
want to
these
say
are
we got to
things-
be careful that
we have
we're
the
developing
perfect
a single-family
Yeah,
home,
we have the
and not to make them responsible for all mischief that may be out there.
Yeah, but we should study it since it's in front of us now, and have the opportunity to take a look at it, to see what's going on, because it's in front of us. So, all right. I think that's it. and you'll send the supplemental to DEC. And again, we'll reach out to our wetlands consultant and our landscape and MCC. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everyone enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Matt. Sorry? I think we're kicked over.
Oh, no, yeah, I think we held that till October, right, okay. Well, we'll wait and see.
So, thank you. Mary, anything else you want to raise, or you're good? We're going to table minutes until next meeting. So.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, George.